an equity in the entity, special purpose vehicle or separate entity that is proposing to create business, residential or recreational facilities in the special economic zone. Further, the developer has to sign an undertaking that it will be governed by the following local laws. So when I talk about the local laws, first comes area planning, which is obviously provided by the local municipal authority, sewage disposal, pollution control, industrial and labor laws. The Special Economic Zone Authority constituted under the Special Economic Zone Act is duty bound to undertake measures for the development, operation and management of the Special Economic Zone for which it is constituted, including the development of infrastructure and promotion of exports from the Special Economic Zone, and to review the functioning and performance etc. of the Special Economic Zone. Procedure to set up a Special Economic Zone unit, application to set up an SEZ unit, copies of the project proposal are required to be submitted to the Development Commissioner, who will forward the proposal to the Approval Committee. The Approval Committee shall consist of Development Commissioners, officers from state and central government, and also representative of the developer as special invitee. A consolidated application form is required to be submitted for the following approvals. So please have a quite quick look at the list given to us. First, you need allotment of land or industrial shed. Second, registration cum membership certificate. Third, annual permission for subcontracting. Fourth, allotment of import exporter code number. Fifth, power connection. Sixth, water connection. Seventh, small scale industries registration. Eighth, registration with the Central Insecticides Board. Ninth, registration with the Central Pollution Control Board. 10th, building approval. 11th, sales tax registration. 12th, approval from the Inspectorate of Factories. 13th, pollution control clearance wherever required. And 14th, any other approval as may be required from the state government or as prescribed or sought by the state government. Procedure to set up an SEZ unit continues. If an industrial enterprise is operating in both the DTA, please note it is domestic tariff area, and an SEZ, which means Special Economic Zone, then both the units shall have different identities, though they do not need to be separated as legal entities. Next, to set up an offshore banking unit, approval from the Reserve Bank of India is required. Further, if the unit is to be set up an International Financial Services Center, approval from the central government is also required. However, only one IFSC is permitted per SEZ. Next, criteria for the approval of an SEZ unit. We'll quickly go through it. The approval of a proposal of an SEZ is based on the fulfillment of certain conditions. First, the SEZ unit achieves net foreign exchange, that is NFE. Please note down the short form. NFE means net foreign exchange, to be computed cumulatively for a period of 5 years from the commencement of production. NFE means excess value of exports and deemed exports over the value of imports and expenses. The availability of space and infrastructure support has been applied for and is confirmed by the developer. A single point clearance system has been provided to the units in the Special Economic Zone under state laws and rules. Proposals for setting up units in Special Economic Zone other than those requiring an industrial license may be granted approval by the Development Commissioner within 15 days. Proposals for setting up units in Special Economic Zones requiring an industrial license may be granted approval by the Development Commissioner after clearance of the proposal by the Board and the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion within 45 days. Once granted, an approval is valid for 5 years. Next, the Approval Committee, however, has the power to cancel the approval granted to the Special Economic Zone unit. Any challenge to the order of the Approval Committee with respect to the grant of approval to the Special Economic Zone unit should be made before the Board of Approval within 45 days of communication of such order. Further, the concerned development commissioner shall give the possession of the space in the SEZ to the entrepreneur only after the issue of the letter. Exit mechanism, it is important to know that how you should exit an SEZ unit. The SEZ unit may opt out of an SEZ with the approval of the development commissioner. Such exit is subject to the payable of applicable duties and taxes on the imported or the indigenous capital goods, raw materials, components, consumables, spares and finished goods in stock. If the SEZ unit has not achieved positive NFE, the exit shall be subject to the penalty. The SEZ unit shall continue to be treated as an SEZ unit till the date of the final exit. Obligations of an SEZ unit, it is very important to understand that what are its obligations, what are its duties. SEZ units shall be required to achieve a positive NFE. For this purpose, a legal undertaking is required to be executed by the unit with the development commissioner. The unit is required to provide periodic reports to the development commissioner and zone customs. Third point, the unit is required to maintain proper accounts and furnish details regarding the value of imports, exports, etc. to the development commissioner on a quarterly basis. Quarterly basis means after every 3 months. Fourth, the unit is also required to execute a bond with the zone customs for its operations in the SEZ, that is Special Economic Zone. Next. The Special Economic Zone provides that designated courts shall try to suit of civil nature arising in the SEZ. This is the slide of dispute resolution. When I talk about dispute, that means there is some query, there is some problem for which an external involvement is required. So let's read the first point once again. The Special Economic Zone Act provides that designated courts shall try any suit, means any case of civil nature arising in the SEZ and from notified offences committed in an SEZ. Appeals against the orders of designated courts shall be filed before the High Court within 60 days from the date of communication of decision. Till such time as the designated courts are set up, any dispute of civil nature arising between the 2 or more entrepreneurs or 2 or more developers or between the entrepreneur of a unit and the developer in the SEZ shall be referred to arbitration under the provision of Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. Next, facilities and incentives available to an special economic zone or unit. As I said previously, there are a lot of benefits available from the duties. That means a company operating under SEZ will get the exemption from the duties and taxes. Let's read the first point, that is the income tax benefit. As per the Income Tax Act 1961, which is short form called as ITA, the following are the key tax benefits to be provided to special economic zones and units. First, 100% of the profits of the developer arising from the business of developing an SEZ notified after April 1, 2005 under the SEZ Act shall be deducted from taxable income. This deduction can be claimed at the option of the assessee for any 10 consecutive years out of 15 years beginning from the year in which the SEZ has been notified by the central government. If a developer who sets up an SEZ after April 1, 2005 transfers the operation and maintenance of the SEZ to another developer, the transferee is entitled to the above deduction of profit for the remaining period. With regards to developer who is entitled to claim an exemption under Section 80 IFO of the ITA Income Tax Act, the developer can claim an exemption for the remainder unexpired exemption under Section 80, and thereafter it can be claimed the 10 tax year exemption available to such developer under Section 80. The developer of SEZ are not required to pay minimum alternate tax, and no dividend distribution tax shall be paid by a developer engaged in developing, operating and maintaining an special economic zone. Benefits to SEZ unit continues over here. The units set up in an SEZ which have begun to manufacture, provide services during the financial year begin April 1, 2005 will get the following exemptions. First, 100% exemption of profits and gains from the business for the first 5 years, 50% exemption of profits and gains from the business for the next 5 years. Third, 50% exemption to the extent that such amounts are reinvested in the special economic or the special reserve account. If the special economic zone unit has already availed or got the benefits for 10 years under Section 10A of Income Tax Act, the above exemptions are not available. Further, FTZ, that means a free trade zone or an export processing zone, that is EPZ, is converted into a special economic zone. The units which have already availed the 10-year tax exemption in FTZ or EPZ cannot avail of the Section 10AA exemptions. Losses falling under the heads profits and gains from business or profession and income from capital gains can be carried forward, set off, as long as such loss is related to the business of the SEZ unit. Capital gains or transfer of assets in case of shifting of an industrial undertaking from an urban area to a special economic zone shall be exempt, provided that 1 year before or 3 years after the transfer, machinery, plant was not purchased for the business of the industrial undertaking in the special economic zone, building or land was acquired or building was constructed in the special economic zone, the original asset was shifted and the establishment was transferred to the SEZ. Fourth, the assessee incurred such other expenses as are notified by the central government. Interest income received by a non-resident or a person who is not ordinarily resident in India on a deposit made by OBU is situated in an SEZ shall be exempt from total income. Benefits to special economic zone units continue. No tax deduction shall be made by the OBU from interest paid on deposits made on or after April 1, 2005 by a non-resident or a person not ordinarily resident in India, or on borrowing on or after April 21, 2005 from a non-resident or a person not ordinarily resident in India. The gross total income of an assessee having an OBU has an assessee being a unit of an IFSC shall be deductible to the extent of 100% for 5 consecutive years from the year of grant of permission under the Banking Regulation Act, SEBI, other relevant law, and 50% for the next 5 years. It further defines the exempted income, which is income from an OBU in an SEZ. Second, income from business referred to in the Banking Regulation Act 1949 or any other unit which develops and operates or develops, operates and maintains an SEZ. Third, income from an approved unit of an IFSC, exemption from securities transaction tax available to taxable securities transaction entered into by a non-resident through the IFSC. Other benefits, customs and excise, exemptions from customs duty. Special economic zone units may import or procure from the domestic sources, duty free, all other requirement of capital goods, raw materials, consumables, spares, packing materials, office equipment, DG sets, etc. for implementation of their projects in the special economic zone without requiring any license or specific approval. Goods imported, procured locally which are duty free could or should be utilized within the approval of 5 years. Domestic sales by special economic zone units will be exempt from special additional duty. Fifth, domestic sale of finished products, byproducts is permitted on payment of applicable customs duty. Sixth, domestic sale of rejects, waste and scrap is permitted on payment of applicable customs duty on the transaction value. Exemption from an applicable excise duty on goods brought in from the data to a special economic zone. We'll quickly go to the FDI. 100% FDI, the automatic route is allowed in the manufacture sector in SEZ units except for arms and ammunition, explosives, atomic substances, narcotics and hazardous chemicals, distillation of brewing of alcohol, drinks and cigarettes, cigars and manufactured tobacco substitutes. Exemption from the applicability, and you can see the list over here where the exemptions are maintained or mentioned as per state taxes, service taxes, labor laws. I'll quickly go to a couple of them. I'll read the last three ones, that is state taxes. The respective state government may, for the purpose of giving effect to the provisions of the SEZ Act, notify policy for the developers and SEZ units and take suitable steps for the enactment of any law for granting exemption from state taxes, levies and duties, and levies any duties to a developer or an entrepreneur. Service tax, exemption from service tax to the developer and the SEZ units to carry an unauthorized operation in the SEZ. Service tax exemption granted only to units in DTA providing service to a developer or a unit. Labor laws, all labor laws are applicable within the country, apply in an SEZ. Next slide. Please focus on the next slide. Stamp duty. No stamp duty is chargeable in respect of any instrument executed. So here what we see in FDI with respect to SEZs that we have seen. We'll quickly go on to the next slide. Recent developments, Government of India is now mulling over a concept of investment regions modeled in Pudong, Rotterdam and other successful ventures across the world to dot the map of India. To get maximum possible leverage from the proposed investment in infrastructure, the Government of India has proposed to come up with a plan for setting up 5 to 6 such regions in India. The proposal being debated envisages a single mega industry-led cluster that will have a planned network for high-quality roads, air and seaports and power plants connecting every industry and development area in a geographical area of 250 to 300 kilometers. It has also proposed to subsume the existing SEZs into large investments in such investment regions. Conclusion: the establishment of the SEZ has undoubtedly helped to increase the volumes of the international trade. Further, a large amount of foreign investment has found its way not only into export trade but also into infrastructure construction and commerce. Foreign companies have been encouraged to establish their presence in the territories and export industry has grown. Advanced foreign technology has been brought in with the inflow of foreign investment. All these factors have contributed to the growth of the Indian economy. The enactment of the SEZ Act and its implementation should enable the government